You think PCP air rifles are just fragile toys built for plinking tin cans in the backyard? You have never seen what is dropping for 2026. Look, the traditional firearm guys have been laughing at pneumatics for years, and it is costing them massive opportunities in the woods. Umarex just dropped their 2026 lineup, and they are completely rewriting the rules of the game. Stop buying outdated leaky gear just because you think it is the only way to get real hunting power. We are looking at 7 brand new, absolute tack drivers that blur the line between a powder burner and an air gun. We are talking dual fuel survival platforms that run on disposable nitrogen, gas ram magnums that never lose pressure in the freezing cold, and massive .357 caliber slug shooters that generate enough hydrostatic shock to drop a thick-skinned feral hog in its tracks. Honestly, you are still lugging around a heavy scuba tank for a rig that barely pushes 30 foot-pounds. You are living in the past. Here is the deal. I am breaking down the top 7 releases you need to know about right now. Moving on to rank 7, we are slotting in a proven bullpup, the Umarex Zelos, pushing .22 caliber lead. Even though the rest of this list focuses on the absolute newest 2026 drops, you demanded this legacy tack driver be included, and it definitely earns its spot. It is a compact, highly tunable platform that delivers serious precision without the massive footprint of a full-length rifle. To get that surgical accuracy, it utilizes an externally adjustable regulator paired with a 250 cubic centimeters air cylinder. Instead of taking the entire gun apart to change your velocity, you can simply dial that regulator anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pounds per square inch, right on the outside of the block. That lets you tune the airflow perfectly for whatever specific grain weight pellet you're running, giving you absolute control over your ballistic data. But here is the truth. The outer shell leaves a lot to be desired. To keep the weight down, it utilizes a lot of polymer body panels that feel incredibly hollow and plasticky in your hands. It does not have that premium, rock-solid feel you get from a high-end aluminum or wood chassis, which can be a letdown when you are dragging it through the brush. Applying pressure to the shoe, the trigger breaks like snapping a wet popsicle stick. Throwing that .22 caliber lead downrange, the report is suppressed nicely, sounding like a heavy staple gun driving into soft pine. Setting you back right around $600, it is a proven modular rig for the guys who want a compact hunter. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but wait until you see the ballistic data on this Benchrest monster. Stepping up the power, we have the Umarex Gauntlet Limited Edition, pushing .30 caliber lead. This is not your standard polymer plinker. They upgraded the furniture to a solid wood laminate stock and slapped a massive 500 CCS carbon fiber bottle on the front. It is a serious precision rig built for guys who want to shoot tight groups at 100 yards. To get that kind of long-range performance, it utilizes a precisely tuned internal regulator set exactly at 2,800 psi. Instead of the velocity dropping with every single trigger pull, that regulator acts as a constant pressure wall. It guarantees that for 32 consecutive shots, the air dumped into the transfer port hits the projectile with the exact same 97.5 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. That is how you eliminate vertical stringing on your target paper. But here is the deal. Running a high-pressure rig like this will drain your wallet fast, because that carbon fiber bottle requires a full 4,500 psi fill to operate. Your standard cheap hand pump is going to leave you exhausted and frustrated. You are essentially forced to buy a high-end electric compressor just to keep this beast fed, which adds hundreds of dollars to the base price of roughly $779. Putting your finger on the blade, The trigger breaks clean, like a frozen dead branch, snapping underfoot, sending that heavy 30 cal slug downrange. The report is deep and resonant. It sounds like a heavy framing nailer sinking steel into solid oak. It is a heavy, gorgeous airgun, but you have to pay to play in this tier. Moving on to rank 5. We are looking at the Umarex Emerge pushing 22 caliber lead. This is a multi-shot gas piston brake barrel that completely takes the hassle out of shooting in the woods. You get total off-grid independence, launching 12 grain pellets at 800 feet per second for solid small game hunting energy, all without ever touching a scuba tank. Under the hood, it utilizes a 12-shot auto-advancing rotary magazine directly linked to the barrel hinge. When you break the barrel open to compress the TNT gas piston, the mechanical linkage automatically rotates the internal cylinder, perfectly aligning the next pellet with the breech. That means you can keep your eyes on the target area and deliver fast follow-up shots without fumbling for loose ammo in your pocket. But let's be real. There is a massive trade-off for that rapid-fire capability. The cocking effort required to compress that turbo gas piston and cycle the magazine simultaneously is brutally heavy. If you are not a strong shooter, breaking that barrel open for all 12 shots is going to leave your arm completely exhausted by the time the mag runs dry. Applying pressure to the shoe, the two-stage trigger pulls slightly mushy before breaking like snapping a thick rubber band. Squeezing off a shot, the silence air system kicks in, making the report sound like a heavy leather boot stomping on wet grass. This is a highly capable hunting tool, but wait until you see the absolute slug-slinging monster at number 1. Sound off below if you think a compact carbine can replace a full-length rifle in the woods. Next up is the Umarex Notos Gen 2, pushing 22 caliber pellets downrange at 830 feet per second. This little carbine is a massive upgrade over the original. They bumped the onboard air storage from a tiny 66 cubic centimeters up to a 118 cubic centimeters cylinder and cranked the max fill pressure to 3,625 pounds per square inch. Moving to the air delivery. This rig utilizes a quick disconnect Foster fit and integrated right into the air tube. Instead of messing around with fragile proprietary fill probes that always get lost or bend, you just snap your compressor line straight onto the gun. It is a simple mechanical upgrade, but it completely changes how fast you can top off that 118 cubic centimeters tank and get back to shooting. Look, even with the larger cylinder, there is a catch. It still only holds 118 cubic centimeters of air, which means you're going to be tethered to your pump or carbon fiber bottle a lot more often than you would with a full-sized rig. If you are planning an all-day hunting trip off the grid, that limited shot count is an absolute air quirk you need to plan around. Squeezing the trigger, it breaks clean, like snapping a dry twig under your boot. Thanks to the redesigned baffles inside the moderator, the firing sound is barely a whisper. It sounds like a muffled pneumatic nail gun firing in the next room. The damage to your wallet is incredibly low, coming in right around 300. Entering the top 3, we are looking at the Umarex Iconix pushing 22 caliber lead. This is a lightweight, entry-level rig designed to get guys into the pre-charged pneumatic game without draining their bank accounts. It runs on a compact 100 cubic centimeters air cylinder that fills to a very manageable 3,000 pounds per square inch, which is easily topped off with a cheap hand pump. You are sending standard pellets downrange at roughly 1,000 feet per second, giving you plenty of kinetic energy for backyard pest control. Under the hood, this rifle operates on a completely unregulated firing valve. Instead of a complex mechanical regulator bottlenecking the airflow, the hammer strikes the valve and dumps high-pressure air directly from the main cylinder straight into the transfer port. That design gives you maximum raw power on those first few shots of the string, but it also creates a steep velocity curve. Shooters are only getting about 25 viable shots before the tank pressure drops too low to be useful. But let's be real. The ergonomics on the firing controls are absolutely brutal. To keep the manufacturing costs as low as possible, they installed a heavy, non-adjustable trigger group. You are pulling against roughly 8 pounds of resistance straight out of the box. If you are trying to shoot tight groups at 50 yards, fighting that kind of weight is going to drag your muzzle completely off target almost every single time. Dragging your finger across that heavy blade, the trigger finally breaks like snapping a thick, stubborn tree root. Because there is zero integrated sound suppression and a relatively short barrel, the report is incredibly sharp. It sounds like a heavy framing hammer slamming directly into a sheet of aluminum. Setting you back right around $190, it is a raw, loud, no-frills entry point into the PCP world. Closer to the crown, we have the Umarex Komplete NCR pushing 25 caliber slugs. This dual fuel system originally disrupted the market in smaller calibers, but scaling it up turns it into a serious mid-sized game dropper. It ships with a 4,500 PSI tank and an adapter for 3,600 PSI nitrogen cartridges, giving you total flexibility. You get 900 feet per second and 45 foot-pounds of energy, which is plenty of hydrostatic shock to neutralize a coyote at the right distance. Under the hood, it utilizes a massively expanded power plenum compared to the smaller caliber versions, because a heavy 25 caliber projectile requires a significantly larger volume of air to accelerate. This oversized plenum stores that exact calculated charge right behind the valve. When the hammer strikes, it dumps that massive air volume in milliseconds, ensuring consistent velocities for 25 to 35 shots without any regulator creep slowing down your follow-up shots. Let's be real. Feeding this beast on nitrogen gets expensive fast. The proprietary Nitro Air cartridges are an incredible convenience for off-grid hunting, but the financial hit of replacing those single-use tanks will drain your wallet if you use it as a daily plinker. If you shoot a lot, you're going to be forced to buy a compressor for the 4,500 pounds per square inch tank anyway, negating the cheap entry price. Applying pressure to the blade, the trigger snaps like a fragile glass rod, sending that heavy lid down range. The report sounds like a thick leather whip cracking in an empty barn, setting you back right around $200. It is a tack driver that brings massive value, assuming you can stomach the recurring air costs. We have looked at off-grid gas ram consistency and some incredibly versatile 25 caliber platforms that give you amazing shot counts. But honestly, when it comes to dispatching serious, thick-skinned game, you need an entirely different level of ballistic trauma. Sitting alone at the absolute top of the mountain is the Umarex Tusk pushing .357 caliber heavy lead. This big-bore sledgehammer makes the 32 foot-pounds of the Umarex Magnum look like a backyard plinker. It gives you the devastating 225 foot-pounds of muzzle energy needed to ethically take down feral hogs, but with a massive 500 cubic centimeters air reservoir that puts the tiny 118 cubic centimeters capacity of the Notos Gen 2 to absolute shame. You are getting firearms level terminal ballistics without dealing with the legal headaches of a powder burner. To push a massive 100 grain solid lead slug at 1,075 feet per second, it utilizes a high-flow exhaust valve paired directly with that huge carbon fiber cylinder, rather than using cheap aluminum or heavy steel that makes the muzzle dip. The woven carbon fiber contains the extreme pressure safely while keeping the rifle perfectly balanced. That allows you to swing on moving targets in thick brush without fighting the weight of your own rig. Easing back on the shoe, the trigger breaks crisp like a snapping carrot. Throwing that massive slug downrange, the report is an absolute cannon blast. It sounds like a solid ash baseball bat cracking a fastball out of the park. Street price sits right under $900, making it the ultimate tactical tool for the modern airgun hunter. Look, the 2026 Umarex lineup just raised the bar across the entire industry. We looked at everything from dual-fuel survival rigs that can sit in your truck for months without leaking, all the way up to massive big-bore sledgehammers that hit harder than a standard powder burner. Whether you are running disposable nitrogen cartridges deep in the backcountry, or slinging heavy lead slugs from a high-pressure carbon fiber tank at the bench, the game has officially changed. There are no more excuses for running outdated, leaky gear. You have the intel right here. Now it is on you to adapt, upgrade your kit, and dominate your next hunt. You now know what separates the serious shooters from the guys still reading marketing catalogs.